software days. This is one of my antiques. I got this back when I was with 4-track tape analog. 115,000 years ago, back before fire was invented. That's what I was using. So I would have like noisy ass guitar just waiting. And you got to record it because I didn't have punch-in capability, so it was bouncing 1 to 2, actually bouncing stereo to stereo, but basically it was either have this punch-in capability or have noise. So I opted for the $10 Radio Shack punch-in, which is a stereo selector, which means, okay, I want CD player, home audio. So that's my little thing there. Enough of that. This right here is a P control, which is a phase controller. So if I've got 2 mics that I'm trying to mic something or anything in stereo, what you have with miking is phase correlation problems. Sometimes it will go, the phase correlation, I don't know if you know what a phase is. The sine wave will become 1 and it will cancel out. Well, this right here will allow you to kind of tweak in that phase and find the sweetest spot. Haven't used it yet because, it's been at like 215 degrees all summer long since I got out of the hospital. When I was in the hospital, but anyways, this is what you call a digital MPA. It's a digital microphone preamp. It's got 2 tubes in there. 1 channel this channel, 1 this channel. And I bought from Rick Sarton, I think that's how you say his last name, 2 Telefunken tubes which were matched. He gave me a sweet ass deal, like $20. I mean, he was going to give them to me for like $10 a piece. They're like $150 a piece if you go on eBay. Crazy big. But he sold them to me when I worked at UPS, and he sold them to me, and yeah, I gave him a little preamp, little $50 preamp that I bought used and haggled down to like $30. So I gave him that and the $20, and he gave me 2 kick-ass Telefunken tubes, which turned this into a freaking powerhouse. I mean, when you buy it, you get these Chinese crap tubes that suck worse than transistors ever wanted to be. So you put some Telefunkens or some Mullards, something good in there tube-wise, and this thing rocks, which I did. Internet, thank you, Internet. And moving on down, the Presonus. This is a M80. It is an 8-channel. It's a mic preamp, but what is the word I'm looking for? It doesn't have, it's balanced, it doesn't have transformer, it's transformerless. It means it's really quiet and it's got a lot of headroom. And I have upgraded this with the Texas Instrument Burr Brown Sonic chip. There's a chip, it's an amplifier chip. It's not like an amplifier like a stereo amplifier, boom, 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 that type. But it amplifies. Jeez, I know what I'm talking about, I just can't explain it. Anyways, I've upgraded this with Burr Browns, for those in the know, which make it even more musical and more the harmonics are, they're sympathetic. The harmonics are sympathetic. So that gives me 8 channels. Remember, this is 8 channels. This gives me 2 channels. This is passive. So I'm jumping ahead of myself so you can follow. This right here, if I pump, the passive end of this, just per se, all 8 channels, well, stereo here, stereo here, stereo here, stereo here. Then it's real quiet. I go into this because it's like dropped at 20-something dBs. This right here does. Then this pumps it up with those awesome tubes to line level, 0 dBs or -10, whatever, -4 is typical. 3 actually. So then I take it from here. This is where it gets funky. I go into DBX compression over here, which is VCA compressors. And I don't stop there. I did some research online, and what I found is that's all good and fine, but it doesn't give you what you're looking for if you want something mastered. I don't like software mastering because it doesn't. Although it is precise, it doesn't have the soul or the expansion, contraction, breathing, living flavor that I think music is and has. So, that being said, after I do all the compression, and I do have VBEs over here, by the way, sonic maximizers and some delays and some EQs and things of that nature to enhance the signal. So I'll take a single, just for example, I take a vocal, I take a single vocal signal, I'll pump it through a quad reverb. I don't have a quad reverb, mine died, but I have an Ensoniq reverb. It's actually it's like what quad reverb wanted to be. So it takes a mono signal and it affects it and creates a pseudo stereo signal that you can pan hard left and hard right with your two channels, and it will give you ambiance or a delay or some kind of phasing effect. Not phasing, but it is phasing, but channel effect where it will bounce across your two-ear spectrum and then bounce back. And I'll take all these over here with the compression, pump them down to two channels, which is stereo. So I got all these mixed, all these different channels mixed into two channels. And then I will go into, oh God, I'm loving this thing. This is a Orban 424A broadcast limiter. It's what you would, if you had a radio station, FM radio station, because it's stereo, FM stereo, AM's mono, typically. Now, they do have digital AM, which is stereo, but who cares about digital AM? So, you got your FM stereo. Well, this thing has got a bass roll-off on it that most people overlook. Oh, what's bass roll-off? Okay. What it does is it gets rid of the rumble. There's rumbles in the bass. That's not what you're looking for. I mean, I know you like the, well, this gives you that, but it doesn't give you the rattling. Even though you're compressing everything, it gives you the isolation of those particular frequencies. So you got this freaking kick-ass butt thing. It's still coming out hot. When it comes out of this, it's still pumping above 0 VUs, still in the red, which is digital. You could turn down your recorder, which is the Tascam DA20M Mark II is a DAT 16-bit 48K. Jumping ahead of myself, but I'm trying to say. So what you do is, it's pumping, it's above it, but it's got, it's where you want. If you're listening to it in the red, you're just jamming along going, man, that's freaking awesome. But you can't record it that way, because if you do, it's distorted. Digital distortion. We're talking digital here. So, you can't have digital distortion, because if you do, it will blow out your speakers in, worst case scenario. So, that being said, I go ahead and take that line out, which is stereo. It's tweaked the way I like it. It's just too loud, It's pushing the VUs too far into the red. In the analog world, that's good, but in digital world, you don't want to go there, okay? So, that being said, I go into, I go into Symmetrix. It's an AGC, Analog Gang. Shit, I'm drinking, so please forgive me, but basically it's a leveler. If you don't know, those listening this far know that an AGC is a leveler. What it does is, you got your perfect little thing going, but you got these spikes going up in the red, boom, boom, when you hit a crash or a lead guitar busts in, it's going above your 0 here. In digital, you cannot exceed 0. So it's going, but the whole signal's down here, everything's rocking down here, but you got going up here. Well, the automatic gain controller, that's it, automatic gain controller. It's got some chips on it that, in working nanoseconds, I suppose. They're not that fast because I've had to, you got to tweak it. You just can't just turn it on. You got to tweak it. So it takes, it took me 2 weeks on one song that I mixed to make sure that these little, things going above 0, I could bring them down with the AGC, but keep all this here, which is that's the hard part, because typically when you bring all this, this down, all this goes down too. So you got all this huge presence and all this awesomeness right here, right? But you got this going on, and you can't record with, you can't make a CD with this going on because it's going above what CD can do. And if you try to record it, then if it could, it's like so you jam along on your stereo, and it's like if you got it loud, it's going to blow out your speakers. So the automatic gain controller tweaks it down. But the magic that it does is it brings it down, but keeps all this. So it basically pulls this down into this spectrum here. Now there is software for that, but for me, like I said, I think that that's part of the soul of music. Because in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, early to mid 90s, this was, that was what they paid engineers and producers to do, was to make this come down and not, stay in this realm and not go up here. So that's what I wanted to do. So I don't want a software thing to do it because it's automatically going to pull that down, but it's going to mute something else down here, like there's a timbre down here, some kind of harmonic. It's going to, when it pulls this down, the software now, when it pulls this down, it's going to tweak all that down for a nanosecond, but your ear can hear that nanosecond. Well, you might not consciously know, but it will hear it, and it will sound muffled for a brief moment. To me, pull that down, tweak this thing in, take 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it takes, tweak it down, everything is good and steady, and bam, you're under zero, you got all this volume down here which is kicking, and it's awesome. Okay, so before I lose train of thought, so I go through the AGC, Symmetrex, AGC, what is it? Shit. 422. Got it cheap on eBay for like 120 bucks. So I'm going from the 424A, the Orban, to the Symmetrex, the 422, to the Tascam, which is a DAT, digital audio tape, which records at 16-bit. That's what CDs are. Here's another little insight. If you record, let's say I'm recording something at 48K. I record about 48K. When I record, raw recordings. So, but just for argument's sake, or entertainment, or learning, if I record, let's say, at 48K, 24-bit, bits. Well, CD's only 16-bit. Well, bit is nothing more than resolution. So if you go back to like the 20, well, however many years ago, the faster the tape moved under the head, the recording, the magnetic tape moved under the head, the higher resolution you got of that audio signal. Well, what's going on today, and a lot of people are catching on.